Welcome to a video demonstrating my ae2Colony script that I've been working on. I think it's at the point here where I can actually share it and provide a bit of a download link for people to use, test. I don't want to say that it's bug-free. It's obviously not. You're going to see shortly. But it works pretty good. And this video is going to be maybe long, so I'll try to do chapters. But the first part of it's going to be, where to download it from, how to kind of set it up. And then after that, we'll be talking about some of the quirks, the issues with my script, and then also some of the quirks that I'm learning about Minecolonies. I'm definitely not a Minecolonies expert, so if anyone's got any tips on what's going on here, let me know. Right off the bat here, let's just kind of do an overview of the setup. We have a 5 wide by 3 tall monitor. You maybe can go bigger. I haven't tested that, but I definitely wouldn't want to go smaller. We can even see that part of this fingerprint that we'll talk about later is cut off, but it's not that big of a deal. We have a progress bar here. We have a status to AE2 connection, and every 30 seconds or so, the script does another check to see what the colony is asking for. And right now, the colony is not asking for much. So if we lose power to our system, we can see that it's red and it's paused. And then if we restore power, it will resume where it left off. Basically every feature here is added because I ran into an issue, and this one obviously was my AE2 network dying. It's not going to be the scope of this video talking about AE2 and autocrafting, so you definitely have to know how that works. This is just a quantum bridge that wirelessly connects me to my main base that's several hundred blocks away from this colony. Let's maybe talk about the peripherals. I think I'm saying that right. Peripherals. So yeah, we have an advanced computer. Obviously you need CC tweaked. You probably should use advanced. It has nice color formatting. And then there's the colony integrator. This is what actually talks to Minecolonies, and you can see from this mini map up here that we're basically in the middle. I don't have chunks loaded, so I think being in the middle is probably the best place to be. And this doesn't have to really be next to anything in the colony. As long as it's in the colony, it works. It just has to be next to the computer. And it doesn't really matter where it is. The computer just detects the monitor, detects the colony integrator, and then this ME Bridge tucked back there for talking to AE2. It obviously has to be connected to an AE2 system that has autocrafting and all that stuff in an inventory. Ignore this setup. I might talk about it later, but when I was designing the script, I wanted a small network to read AE2 information as well as the colony information for kind of debugging and testing purposes. So it doesn't have a point. You can ignore it. It's just this system here. And then of course we have a couple blocks like furnaces or the architect's cutter for making specialty blocks that the system cannot autocraft. Oh, and then obviously the peripheral will export the items to the gold chest. I've decided to have a lever, so every once in a while when I'm standing here doing testing, I can kind of debug the output to make sure, early on my system wasn't exporting the wrong stuff. Now it's pretty good, but occasionally I do like to check the output. Just don't leave it off, because then this thing will just keep putting items into this chest thinking they're never getting to the warehouse. And then once they leave here, they go to the ender chest, which goes to this warehouse that's under construction. And I'm just actually realizing now, this is the worst time to record the video, is when your warehouse is under construction, because when they're upgrading it, they'll actually break the ender chest and the pipe and then stick it in this racking. So at some point here, maybe during this video, the items are going to pile up in here because this stuff's gone. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. You can't add racking. You're only allowed to use what's here, and you can't modify it. So I just come here periodically, try to keep it clean. Obviously, if it's plugged, you're not going to dump items out. And right now in the version of Advanced Peripherals that I'm using, I believe it's 0.7.51b. There's a bit of a bug that if a colonist doesn't have a tool or a guard doesn't have a sword, it'll actually crash the script and it won't run at all. So I like to keep a bunch of extra basic tools. And if you know anything about Minecolonies, you know your starter colonists can't use good tools. They can only use wooden tier. So that's kind of the best tier to keep here as a spare. And same with leather armor. It's probably good to have a few chunks of leather armor kicking around. As we can see, I don't. Because occasionally I have seen colonists crash the script because they're missing feather falling on a boot, I assume. What do we got here? A student asking for paper, I see. So we'll come back to this screen. I suppose it's time to look at the download and the install. That's kind of the basic configuration of where the blocks have to be. So let's Control T to terminate the script. And right now I'm actually editing a script called ae2Colony dash whatever, but we're going to download a fresh one from GitHub. So there will be a link to this GitHub in the video description. There's a little bit of a story here if you want to read it. Probably helpful to read it, but this is what you need right here is this wget command. What it's going to do is install this ae2Colony Lua, the latest one that I've decided to upload. I'll probably edit this, known issues, some tips, etc. And then at some point later in the video, I might talk about helper scripts. You don't need them, but the get bridge data and get colony data is good for inspecting the raw text file in case something weird's happening. It shouldn't, but I just figured I'd upload them because I found them helpful when I was troubleshooting. And the most important part, I expect to abandon the script because I do get bored easily. So if somebody can make this better or whatever, shoot me a message on, I don't know, GitHub or YouTube. Send me a link. Okay, that's kind of funny. I talked for like 5 minutes before I realized I was not focused on VS Code. We'll give a quick run through of this. I'm definitely not going to look at the whole program because it's quite long. It's like 500 lines, just kind of the important stuff. I've tried to leave comments in green here for you to troubleshoot if you need. I definitely recommend reading this Lua file in, Notepad++ or, something like VS Code, which is what I'm using. It's free. It has nice color formatting. You can see here the file I'm working on. I've actually pointed it to my single player world. I'm on computer 6. So you can actually work right out of your computer craft folders for different scripts. If you're on a server, obviously you can't do that unless you have access to it, but that's kind of a whole side quest, not part of this video. So yeah, the most important part here is export side. It's the relation of the ender chest or the barrel, whatever you're using, that the AE2 system, the ME peripheral is going to push into. So I'm on the front here. A lot of the other stuff doesn't really matter. You can see I've left little comments. Scan intervals kind of important. I wouldn't really go much lower than 20. I think 30 is probably where it should be. If you have a really large AE2 system and it's polling it all the time, it's kind of taxing on the system. And we do have a log file. I have it set right now because I'm working through a couple little weird bugs to true just to print extra information. I kind of think in Minecolonies, I don't know it well, but I'm kind of learning that maybe this AE2 system's just best to kind of supply it building materials, not to supply it food or armor or tools. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is blacklist every item of food that has this C common food tag. Not all food items I've discovered have that tag, so it won't blacklist all foods, but most of them. And then tools, it doesn't do what I want. There'll be an instance where maybe we want to cook beef into steak, and carrots and potatoes are used for the hospital to cure sickness, and then the apple pie is kind of my best food source. So all of these items actually have the seafood tag, so we're specifically whitelisting an item, but we're blacklisting an entire tag group, if that makes sense. Tools and armor lookup. I was trying to make it so if they were asking for gold or something, chest or boots, to populate it with leather. It kind of works, but this instance here, one guard insisted on gold, so the system got spammed with wooden swords. This is not really working yet. I hope that maybe the new update of Advanced Peripherals, I can get this working, but right now it's kind of abandoned, kind of. And then, yeah, I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but that's kind of the important stuff at the top for the user to configure. I've tried to leave like little error message or bug things. So if somebody has issues, they can hopefully read through the code and somewhat understand it. I hope. Log files here. So the script deletes these log files every 10 days, but I usually just delete them right now because I'm testing. Basically, the script will start. And there's fingerprints that we'll talk about later. But what I'll do sometimes is go in the game, I'll copy a fingerprint, I'll paste it and try to compare the numbers to see, what went wrong. Fingerprints basically are like a hash of all the NBT data, like item durability and chance and all that. So every time a shovel loses hit points, its fingerprint changes. It's a really good way to transfer items to make sure you're dealing with the exact item. But yeah, here's kind of the debug of what the system's doing. If you cross-reference this log with what's going on in my script when you have issues, hopefully it'll kind of help you narrow down the bug. I'm kind of a hobby programmer, right? So I'm sure there's a lot of bugs, but overall it's working not bad. Alrighty, what are we, 10 minutes into the video here, and we haven't even ran the script yet. So that wget link, I'm going to do Control V and paste it in here, and then it just downloaded as this name. So when I go to run it here, it's going to show this 0.3. I'm just ignoring that. I wish that guy wouldn't laugh when I'm talking. So even though it says 0.3 here, that's not actually the one I'm running. It's just the edit that I'm making, if that makes sense. Cool. So now that it's running, it's got a bunch of stuff going on here. We can see we've got info. So cooked beef is being blacklisted, which is fine, and it's not whitelisted. We've got leather boots being substituted for mechanism free runners. So then we're crafting leather boots, which is good. We don't want to be given the mechanism free runners. So if crafts are happening, there's a manual craft that I actually have to do. The system can't do it. I've been told that colonists can actually make this Domum Ornamentum stuff at certain job sites, but I haven't got there yet. So for right now, I'm doing it. And so we'll go over that. It's basically, right now my script's telling me I have to do it. And then what's missing, which is often the same as what's there. And what was sent. I see we have a fingerprint that didn't show up. I guess it's because it's a mechanism runner substituted with leather boots is why the fingerprint's missing. So yeah, occasionally, if, like I was saying, a guard is missing a sword or a colonist is missing a pickaxe, yeah, let's check that that doesn't get overfilled because of the warehouse being worked on. Occasionally, if they're missing a sword or a pickaxe, the script will lock up, and you can tell because that progress bar will just stop. It'll be green and it'll just freeze. So you'll come here, there'll be an error, and you basically dump in a ton of wooden tools and a ton of a leather armor, or a couple pieces, of each, and then it should go away if you rerun the script. I'll maybe try to simulate that later. So right now we come up here and we see everything's kind of okay except for this Domum Ornamentum. So we're missing 2 pieces, 1 to 2, but here it shows me it's exactly 2 of stripped spruce wood stairs. It is just one type, stripped spruce wood. I guess I got a couple pieces. This is not the most exciting example because it's pretty basic. Stripped spruce logs stairs, is that it? Let's just shift click and hope that's it. Spruce wood, spruce log. Okay, so we did the wrong type. That says spruce wood. I made spruce log. So that's kind of my first giveaway that I totally messed up here, but this is what's kind of cool about the fingerprints. So advanced peripherals, and then you do get hash item, hit tab here to autocomplete. As long as we're holding the sword, it's going to give us a number that I can see does not match at all to this number. So that tells me right off the bat that I have made the wrong thing. Okay, I think I can do vein mine. Nice. Do a couple more. Vein mine it. Okay, so if we do this, we get that nice piece of wood. Very cool. Now we come back here and we put this piece in. I actually want to kind of look at this this block later. Let's do that. Throw those in there. So now if we hit slash and then hit up, we can retype that command, and this number already looks a lot better. Cool. So it will not sense it and update, obviously, until that is finished. Cool. So something else too I was going to mention with the info, a lot of times the info you don't really have to act on. Basically, I just want to know, hey, there's an item that has the tag blacklisted, but the item is not on the whitelist, so it's not going to get transferred, and that's okay. What's actually happening is my restaurant is wanting cooked beef and baked potatoes, so my actual restaurant cook is making it, but we are sending it the raw potato, but it's because the colonists actually want the cooked part, but my building is handling that. Like if we go over here, my sad little farm that I probably should be using instead of AE2. Yeah, so this person here has a restaurant, and there's a menu of what I said the colonists can have, because right now I'm at that stage, like they're sometimes level 3 or level 4 buildings, where they're getting whiny, because I was just giving them apple pie. Apple pie is actually really nice to make with mystical agriculture, but they were whining it was only one food type. So I've tried to give them this stuff, but I guess it's really bad food, so they're still not happy. But that cook is actually making this stuff, and then she's just whining.
If you say so.
Every once in a while, these colonists kind of lock up for me, and I have a hard time sometimes understanding what they want, because I can clearly see from some of these scrolls, maybe not that scroll, that they're working on stuff. Well, that one's even not bad. I got 4 builders. That's why I have 4 of these resource scrolls to the different builders. They're actually all not... Well, he's actually probably the tardiest. Like, just because these are red doesn't mean the system is going to be asking for them, because he might be digging or building other blocks, placing other blocks. So eventually this stuff will get requested, but for right now, just because it's here and it's red doesn't mean the system needs to address it or it's going to do anything about it. He could just be, you know, digging. Like, I don't know what he's doing. He might have to get murdered because he's a really bad builder. This person just finished the hospital, so that's cool. Yeah, like I was saying, in a perfect world, my system here would just send blocks and I would stop sending food because the farmers should be growing it. But I'm too busy trying to work out the bugs in my script and why sometimes items get stuck that I'm not actually like learning how to play mine colonies properly. So maybe I'm making things harder on myself than it has to be. So we got mine colonies gate wood. Wooden gate with the tooltip there says gate wood. It's probably late in the day to mention this, but if you have F3H turned off and you come here, you lose a lot of valuable information. I think for modded Minecraft, you have to kind of play with F3H on because there's a lot of important documentation. So this is problematic. It's crafted by a mine colony's mechanics hut. So I can't make this at all. So that's the first item of its type that I've actually ran into, which is fine because my script is saying, hey, it's missing, there's no recipe, but I can't do anything about it. I wonder who that's for. Okay, let's try to simulate the script crashing because the guards don't have wooden tools. Like I said before, in the future versions, this might be fine, but right now it's game breaking. And I don't think I mentioned it too here, but it is in the GitHub. You have to use the right version. Like, you can't use too old, let's recall this guy, of a version.
Right away.
Because Advanced Peripherals goes through lots of updates. And this script for sure will not work on an older version than this, the way I have it coded.
What can I do for you?
Yeah, so they don't even realize they don't have a sword yet.
I can't work like that.
Oh, there we go. So I don't exactly know why, but there's a ton of mods that will add these swords, and I can't just give him diamond sword, because even though he's a builder level 3, not all my guard tower level 3. Oh my goodness, what are you idiots doing here? Yeah. You gotta use wooden swords is what I'm trying to say, because he might be able to use a diamond sword, but some of my worst buildings would crash the script unless they get, you know, a sword they can use. So what I will do when I say, hey, that is the weirdest thing. It hasn't crashed yet. Oh, there's a wooden sword there. Okay, it looks like it just froze after I grabbed this wooden sword that I didn't see. So once the system Minecolonies realizes, hey, there's no sword that'll satisfy the request. It has a bit of a meltdown here, and it's something to do with enchantment looting, but I have seen feather falling in there too. So this is supposed to be fixed in newer versions, but for right now, you have to just, restart your script. But the catch is it'll fail right away until you make them happen. So my solution is just to dump a bunch of junk gear into the ender chest, and hopefully it will fix it. It's a very crude strategy, but hey, it works. And the weird thing, see, that's an enchanted piece of armor. Sometimes leather gets exported properly, and then other times it just crashes the script. So I don't exactly know how to handle that. So we're throwing in some armor of different tiers. Hopefully somebody can use some of it. And now that we try to run it, it runs like normal. And a ton of items just got dumped, which is kind of cool. Sometimes the colonists, if they're, like I said before, if they're digging, you'll like look at their resource scrolls. If you don't know how to make these, I have 4 builders, so you take one of these scrolls and click on the builder, the little building hut machine, whatever you call it, and it'll tell you what he wants. So for the barracks, that's the guy who wants the wooden gate. I guess I'm gonna have to work on that. I had one person, I've stuck with, getting way off topic here. I've stuck with the medieval spruce theme for this area just because when I'm testing, it's nice to have kind of one block palette, especially when you're crafting that Domum Ornamentum stuff. You can see 1 to 2 tier buildings have kind of ugly stair roofs, but once we come around the corner here to some of my other buildings like the tavern and the restaurant, we actually have the cool shingles, and same with some of the building huts. However, this little island here is running out of room, and I was getting concerned about building too far this way because it almost seemed like the colonists were stopping work. Maybe I've done some reading on Minecolonies, and apparently as long as I'm in the boundary, like me, the players in the boundary, everywhere in the Minecolony should work. That's kind of the main reason why I've decided to not chunk load anything. I don't want extra stuff chunk loaded because I do have chunk loaded stuff happening in other parts of the game somewheres. That's my base over there. But yeah, this was kind of cool. I gave an underground building schematic for one of my builders to make, and they just dug it out, and now I can start building underground here, which is kind of neat. Maybe that's where I can put the mechanic. Yeah, so back to my script. I'm getting way sidetracked here. When they don't want to do stuff, there's like a reason. So you have to like talk to the colonists and kind of figure out, why they're unhappy. I've possibly seen issues where this is a builder's hut. Where is it? No, not there. This is their storage. That I came into one of them and it was absolutely full of stuff that I almost thought that maybe they couldn't, play. This is really cool, this little builder's hut. I thought they couldn't actually place things anymore, so they stopped working. So periodically I will come to builders' huts or warehouses and just check them out, make sure that they're not plugged. I think that's kind of what you're supposed to do in Minecolonies. That's kind of the design. So yeah, I think the AE2 script is like a good helper script, but you do have to kind of babysit it a bit. But it just takes away, some of the babysitting. Okay, so I feel like I've kind of proven that the script seems to mostly work right now, so I'm comfortable, letting people try it. But this is gonna be a terrible video to try to edit. It's gonna be too long. Oh well. 1 to 46 gray brick extra shingle. So right here, we're gonna set up the Domum shingle with that fingerprint. So we're gonna need gray brick extras and spruce planks. Notice how it says 1 and 2. Gray brick extra. And so it's gray, it's not light gray. We make a stack of it because why not? And then we grab a stack of spruce. And when I, the player, am doing this, just confirm that it's spruce planks and it is gray brick on top. I have it formatted especially so it's in a logical order. So it's Domum Ornamentum shingle. It is not the shingle slab here. And then we want it to be this one on top. So what I would do if I wasn't confident is I could grab this, type that and get negative 301, 516, which matches that exactly. So that tells me that I had the right one selected. Probably somebody smarter than me would look at that and say, oh, that obviously doesn't look good. So, there it is, right? Shift click because might as well make 4 stacks, even though we only need 46. Dump it into the system. Oh yeah, I guess I said I was going to talk about this. You probably shouldn't need it, but those are those helper scripts. I'd usually do like a get bridge data and then a get colonist data. And of course that will only populate if there's a few items going here. We can see there's not actually that much. So we come back here and we load up the bridge data and the colonist data. We can see, yeah, this one's actually pretty small, but the colony data looks a little different. It's got information about the progress of the colony. It's got a weird name, the target, which is nice information. And then the real important stuff is buried in items, where I'll sometimes, read a stack size. I'll read tags. The fingerprint is the most valuable piece of information. And there's the count. And then a lot of times with armor or tools, I try to strip the components. That's like the NBT data of enchantments and stuff like that. I try to ignore that. So yeah, that's the colony data. And then the bridge data is a lot nicer from AE2. Name, we can see components. So this is a shovel with a damage value of 21. We got some tags, got the fingerprint. And remember, this fingerprint I'm pretty sure will change when this number changes or if you add enchants. So it's a really amazing way to export items in the script. The problem that I ran into is if you have a pattern, let's actually look here in the game. So it thinks, oh, there's no fingerprint, there's no match. So what I do is I have a fallback. This is where the code gets kind of messy. If the fingerprint fails because there is a pattern, but it doesn't know because the item count 0, we do a name lookup. And the name lookup's not as precise, but it kind of gets the job done. And one other thing too, I was going to talk about the craft. Sometimes the craft will get hung up. So I have this post box here where I can actually request things to try to test the script. It's not super fast, but if we do something like 8, and that's not what I wanted. We wanted to do like 800, I guess. I got to try to get the coal essence out of here. Oh my God, that's too much coal essence. Okay. So right now it's going to send 11 stone to the post box because that's what it can satisfy, but it thinks there's no recipe for the stone. So that's a bug right there, because what I was expecting was it would go green to say it's crafting, but because there was no coal essence to make stone, it would get hung up, and eventually you'd have to wait for more coal essence to trickle in. That's like a potential area for, things to get locked up. What happens here if we wait? Okay, see, there's no recipe, but then I guess a little bit of coal trickles in. Yeah, and then it sees it. So that's a bug I got to work on. But notice this will stay crafting 800. You'll come here and you'll say, well, it's not crafting anything. What's going on? That's like a limitation. That's an issue that how do I say it? My script does not handle that. And I think that's above my skill level or my pay grade. So I don't think I'm going to fix stuff like that. You just have to kind of be aware of, hey, it's asking for 800 stone. Why is it not making 800 stone? I have a recipe. So, you come here to your system and you say, make me that 800 stone. And you see, oh, hey, look, there's nothing in there. One other thing I was going to talk about too, like when I was doing leather gear and all that, I actually have a bunch of leather. Notice that we're making it from essence. So mystical agriculture, using the script for Minecolonies. Mystical agriculture is awesome because it's like, free resources, right? Just grow them. But I want to have like, 1,000 of this item sitting here. I don't want to be using up my valuable crafting CPUs because I only have I guess I have 8 of them. But you can imagine when a bunch of requests come in, if your crafting CPUs are tied up. I haven't actually tested that. The code might actually break possibly, or hopefully it will just, keep running until a crafting CPU frees up and then it'll craft. But it'll hang is what I'm trying to say. So if I go to my base actually, which is quite far from here, this is actually one of these quantum links is the actual link to that mine colony. I forget which one. I have a couple. couple of them set up, but this is the main base. This is the main AE2 system. And the important part here, I think, is you can make interfaces. This is, I think, from ME Extended, but even just the basic ME interface, you can have a stack of 64. The oversized lets you do 1,000. If you put a crafting card in interface, you can set it to like 64 and it'll stock it. So you put your set point at 1,000, it'll try to match that. Everything's cool, right? So what you do is you put a storage bus facing that interface. And so now, like if we search diamond, we will see, well, that's a bad example because we actually have more than 1,000. What about gold or iron? Yeah, roughly that 1,000 gold is being stocked by this thing. So anything to do with essence, I've actually set up a special, spot for it to be made. So we're not locking up our crafting CPUs. We have kind of a bit of a buffer. And the way this system works is, you know how these cables here can only have 8 channels. So this one's special, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 interfaces with 7 storage buses. This is basically a small subnet is the yellow. I try to color my subnets a different color because the quartz only passes power. It doesn't pass data. So what's happening is data and energy come to the storage bus that's on the top. It talks to the interface that's on the bottom, and then it can see all these storage buses, which are facing all these interfaces. I'm sure that's very confusing if you don't know what I'm talking about, but it is a very slick setup. Storage bus interface, and then these 7 are flipped. Little small subnet for supplying the base with items like on a buffer. And I have a similar setup here too, kind of the same idea. Oversized interface. They're not all full. Whoops. This is... One of them is for me to look at it, and the other one's at the setup. Aha. So some of these, blocks take time to craft, right? So we just, we keep a bit of a threshold set up so we're not constantly... What's that called? It's passive crafting. It's not active. Because when you all of a sudden want to start making stuff and your CPUs lock up, you're waiting, right? So when I'm sidetracked doing other things, I like the system working for me. Talk about a tangent that nobody asked for. I guess that's it. If you have issues with the script, hopefully, leave a question on the GitHub. I'll see it. But there it is.